Pain blows my mind alone in my brain. I smell smoke from all of those flames. Fell in holes and hope for my grave. They told me smell the roses, but I burnt the whole bouquet.
Tom, you'll never win the fight against your haters long as I listen. Cause I read every single comment that you try missing. Then recite them in your mind and memorize disses. I'm a giant, Thomas, why are you trying to fight with me?
I'm different, don't care about a height difference. I might win it, show up to a gunfight, knife swinging.
I am the darkness.
Yeah, I got night vision. No! I need to do this by myself. I told you twice already exactly how I felt. I'm the best rapper ever, I don't wanna be great. If they're the best, then I'm better, don't you make no mistake. Cause I'm the gold, feel it in my bones until I'm a ghost. I'm the one who pulls the sword out of the stone. Best ever. I'm the best rapper ever, I don't care what you say. I'm Da Vinci, I'm forever, I'm designed for the fake. Cause I'm the gold, get the kid a throne. Everybody knows, only voices that I'm hearing on my own. Best ever.
Aaron Tuttle here for Ferguson Roof Systems. For 43 years, Ferguson Roof Systems has been protecting Oklahoma's homes and businesses with quality roofing services. Their goal was to be the most honest and dependable roofing company in the state, all while providing free services such as lifetime labor warranty and annual inspections. Well, mission accomplished with thousands of client testimonials, an A+ Better Business Bureau rating, and a 5-star rating on Google. Look, the weather gives you enough to worry about, so why worry about who to trust with your roof? Call Ferguson Roof Systems today or find out more at fergusonroofsystems.com.
Hey everyone, Meteorologist Aaron Tuttle back with you. It is about 10 minutes till noon on your Friday, so happy Friday to you. Hope you're ready for a weekend of fun and celebration and rest and recovery and whatever else it may be. What we're going to be focusing on here is going to be the weather, because we are going to have some storms out there, so thanks for joining me. Make sure you like and share this video. So this will be your lunchtime live here for your Friday, and then we'll do another live probably tonight and again on Saturday, because we do have some severe weather to speak of, and some of those storms will be making its way through the state and probably affecting, at least, if not you directly, a friend you know, your relative, who knows. So we'll talk about where they're going to happen and what's to be expected. So as always, thanks for liking and sharing and leaving your comments on there, and sending me some love on the Facebook stars as well. Always appreciate those. So without further ado, let's get on with it. First thing, I know what I wanted to show you. It was this right here. You see that? That's cloudy skies. This is from my roof cam, and it's looking pretty overcast, pretty gloomy out there for a Friday, but at least it's not as cold as it was earlier. That's the good news. It has warmed up quite a bit compared to yesterday, which is nice, because yesterday, obviously, it wasn't so nice. And out there now, we do have a retreating cold front, we'll call it, because it's very slow moving. But the line runs from, we'll call it up around Miami, up through about Tulsa, and then back right around Stillwater, and then Guthrie, and then points out toward El Reno, and then back out along I-40. So that's the position of the front. Now, this front should not move much today. We should get some rain that develops along the edge, on the northern edge, and what that'll do is it'll help to reinforce the frontal boundary and then push it back south as a cold front, just a little bit. In other words, so maybe the position is here right now, but maybe this evening it does something like this, for example. All right, so what is going to happen is this boundary is important, because that's what's going to be kind of the focus for some shower storms. And if we can get one supercell type storm to develop out here in southwest Oklahoma and right along this cold front boundary, this baroclinic zone, then you could potentially get a tornado out of it. So it's not a high risk at all. It's not even a moderate risk. It's nothing like that. It's just a very slight risk, but it's worth mentioning in case it does happen. Otherwise, the typical storms, this time of the year, are a little hail, a little wind. That's what you normally get in Oklahoma anyway. It's very hard to get a tornado. But anyway, here's a look at temperatures out there across the state. We've got 60s here at central Oklahoma, 70s down south and southeastern Oklahoma. Boy, it's nice down there. A little humid, though. We do start to see a few showers develop out here in Woodward and points west. Of course, you guys are going to be on the cold side today. And we do see some light showers developing out here in eastern Oklahoma, and some here in west, just now beginning. So any sun that we have out there now should start to fill in. And if we look out there across the state, this is a satellite picture, and you can see a few breaks here in the darker shadings. Otherwise, it's pretty much overcast across Oklahoma. Okay, so we know where the front is. We know it's cloudy out there. We know where the temperatures are. So let's get in with the details. Let's see. Before I do that, let's do this. So this is kind of another way to imagine what I was showing you. So this is the dew point map, and where you see the darker blue, that's really juicy air. And this is going to work its way to the north, but you're going to watch as it kind of starts to stall. So that's the dew point values pooling along the frontal boundary this afternoon from the Gulf of Mexico opening back up. And you can see as we go into about 6 o'clock this evening, you can see how the dew points retreated in this area, but they held firm for about Tulsa to Oklahoma City, and then southwest is where they retreated. So now they're a little bit more southwest. That's why I kind of drew that front down this region, because that'll be the focus. You can see kind of a south-southeast wind here and a north-northeast wind there. We call that wind shear, and it's also convergence. And so we're going to need to get some storms to misbehave a little bit. And also it's a boundary for getting some heavy rainfall. And that's right over Tulsa and Oklahoma City and southwest. So I do still expect some heavy rain. Could be some brief flash flooding with this. Pockets of rain, maybe in excess of 4 inches. So we'll see what happens with this particular first wave before the second wave arrives. As we head into, let's see, this will go through just 4 o'clock in the morning. The front kind of just washes out, retreats a little bit south, and then it'll wash out for tomorrow, and we'll get to tomorrow in a minute. But first, let's just deal with today. Let's see here. So let's go on with the way high-res models are depicting the thunderstorm activity to develop. So first off, we'll have some showers scattered in nature develop here over central, eastern, southeastern, western Oklahoma. It's pretty much anywhere is fair game, with the exception of the far north early on. This is 4 o'clock, so there'll be some thunder in here. Will be a little bit of lightning. I don't expect these storms to be severe, but they will be strong. They might have some pea-sized hail in them, for example. As we head into 5 and 6 o'clock, though, those storms will move up to the north. They may intensify a bit. There's a pretty good strong one around Tulsa. As we head into the 7 o'clock hour, that's when we'll start to watch southwest Oklahoma. And depending on how things go, models have a different look to some of this, but right now, it's got an elevated frontal boundary lighting up in this area. It's really what we call the 850 front versus the surface front, which we drew down here. So the initial activity is kind of along that fringe, but that's just because it's elevated. It's kind of marauding along the cap. By 8 o'clock, we do get a push of that colder air moving southward with those storms to the north, which will kind of reinforce the cold air, which will help surface conversion, break any cap that's there. And then we'll get some storms down here in southwest Oklahoma through 9 o'clock. Now, embedded within this, like I mentioned, somewhere along that front here in southwest Oklahoma, we could see a brief tornado. That's possible. Those storms do continue down in southwestern Oklahoma, but you can see how they expand at 10 o'clock tonight over central Oklahoma, and then overnight tonight, there's midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. So you can see a good chunk of central, eastern, and western Oklahoma is going to get some rain out of this. And this is just the first wave. Let's see. For you guys planning here in Oklahoma City, like I said, off and on scattered showers moving through, light stuff here this afternoon. Here's 3 o'clock. So again, things won't bubble up here for another couple of hours. But you saw the radar. They're actually trying already. But this will be the trend as we go throughout the day. All right, so let me see rainfall amounts for this, and then we're going to jump into Saturday also, see what you can expect for your weekend. All right, so potential rainfall so far out of this particular batch. Models are up to, there's 3, this is about 3.5, almost 4 inches of rain. That's what I'm saying. There could be some brief flooding in some of this. Here's in eastern Oklahoma. That's about 4.5 inches around Muskogee, northeast Oklahoma overnight. So, like I said, that's an issue to contend with and deal with for this first round. Okay, now on the first round, the National Weather Service has painted the slight risk of severe weather. It's in yellow over central and western Oklahoma, so it does cover Clinton, Altus, Oklahoma City. Now, as I mentioned, this up here is probably going to be elevated, so some hail. The stuff down here along the front in this region would have a better potential for a potential tornado and also some pockets of wind. So that's the difference between the two areas. They just kind of broad brushed it though. They could have easily drawn 2 circles, but you don't want to get that specific because there's always room for error and margin, right? Let's see. Hail up to golf ball size, winds up to 60 miles per hour. This is where they drew the tornado potential. I don't have any arguments with this. It looks pretty good to me. So very, very low here in central and west central Oklahoma. Again, the best down here in southwest, and even then, the best meaning not very exciting. Timing on this, I mentioned this afternoon, kind of bubbling up, but for the heavy stuff, approaching Oklahoma City wouldn't be till after 10 o'clock on the west side of town. Until then, it'll be out in western Oklahoma. Flood potential, I mentioned that. They've got the high, slight risk up here north, but I really think that's misdrawn. It should be more anchored closer to the frontal boundary remnant, so kind of along this area like the model depicted, but again, there's some room for margin. They'll update this as new data comes in. Okay, so that's how today looks, and before I jump on to the next, I did want to look real quick at a forecast sounding down here in southwest Oklahoma. You can say, hey, why are they talking about tornadoes down here? So let's go to the 8 o'clock in the evening time frame. I'll pick southwest Oklahoma, and we're going to see. So there is a lot of lift. This is the dashed red lines you see on the map over here. That just means a lot of lift in the atmosphere. The temperatures are pretty saturated with the dew point. They're pretty close together, so it's going to be a heavy rain event. There is some instability still around 1,000 Cape. Not much in the way of a cap. Very, very tiny and really inconsequential. Lifting condensation levels pretty low to the ground, and you have some decent turning with the wind. Remember, you have that east-northeast surface wind along the front that turns with height aloft, and so therefore you get a potential tornado hazard type. So with a significant supercell back in the analogs for historical reference. So we do expect at least probably one storm to get out of control down there in southwest Oklahoma. We'll see. I'll watch it for you here this afternoon and this evening, and of course if a tornado does develop, I'll be covering it live. I cover tornadoes. I just typically don't cover just our generic wind and hail events unless it's a very high magnitude. Then I'll cover those, but I kind of focus my efforts on the other due to my lack of time. Okay, so let's go on to Saturday. So we're going to expand our view and tell you about the timing. You know what? I think I can keep this same model if I go back an hour. I think it goes through Saturday. It does. Okay. We'll stick with the high-res models for Saturday morning. Okay, so let's go through Friday night. If you're joining late, again, overnight rainfall here in central Oklahoma and eastern, all along the I-44 corridor seems to be the sweet spot. From now southwest to northeast. As we head into Saturday, 7 a.m., you see these kind of scattered light showers all over the state. Nothing heavy, no big deal. If you're going to have plans, just going to have to deal with some sprinkles and passing showers. Make some alternates, but nothing heavy. Nothing's going to cause any washouts until we head into the afternoon out in far western Oklahoma. So this is 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock out here across the state. So we'll plot a forecast sounding ahead of these storms. Just kind of give you an idea what the shear looks like. And here is similar to today, but much better lift. In other words, stronger lift. These lines are longer, which means better omega. But you've still got a pretty saturated atmosphere. The wind shear is still good. They're still turning with height, but it's over a very long stretch column. It's not in the lowest levels. This typically means more of a rain event, probably some damaging wind, and some hail. But tornado threat is, in this particular case, although it can happen, it's not over the top or anything. It's still in the low end. Potential hazard type is for tornado for Saturday afternoon out here in western Oklahoma. Capes up around close to 1,000 and maybe as high as 2,000 at some point, and no cap, of course. So we'll see how that plays out. This is still early in the game for that type of model data to arrive, but that's the first look at it. And hence, that's why you're going to see the slight risk of severe weather, including a tornado for tomorrow afternoon and evening out here in western Oklahoma. So that's 8 o'clock. You can see Oklahoma City, just now getting to see some rain on the west side of town. Here we go into western Oklahoma about 9 o'clock. It's still gangbusters out there. Now, here's what happens. We're at 11 o'clock. All right, we have kind of a thin-looking squall line take shape. So that means any tornado threat you've had early on is gone. All right, it's only for the late afternoon, so 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock on the border of Texas and Oklahoma. And then into the first few counties through about 7, 8 o'clock in the evening, then it starts to diminish quite rapidly. And by the time we're at 11, these storms are broken in nature, and look how they kind of just fizzle. I mean, they don't have that strong look to them. Let me go to the predicted reflectivity. This is what the radar would look like if it were all come out as truth. So let's jump into Saturday here. Okay, so here we go. And this is kind of giving you what I was talking about. 6 o'clock. Let's go 4 o'clock. Okay, so you see these little tracks here. These are helicity tracks. This is where the model thinks these will be supercell storms, and they'll produce some hail and wind, potentially a tornado when you get these little tracks. All right, not all the time, but sometimes. So as we go into time to 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, you can see how those tracks kind of disappear as soon as they cross the border. That is typical for Oklahoma. They barely get across the border, sometimes produce a tornado, and then they're done, right? There's 8 o'clock and there's 9 o'clock. You don't see any more tracks. So that's the indications the model is saying, you know what, the shear that was good there and any instabilities really dying fast and just not as impressive as it was earlier in the evening hours. So it's a very small window out there in the far western counties. And then again, the reflectivity, you see it decreases. You don't see those big bright reds anymore. And so they just kind of just fall apart and then continue out in eastern Oklahoma. Very thin, narrow squall line moves through at 6 a.m. in Tulsa, and that moves through during that point. So kind of to show you that Oklahoma City around midnight, give or take, is the time where this thunderstorms will arrive. They'll be strong. In other words, they'll probably have some small hail with them. They'll probably have some lightning and pockets of wind. But as far as the tornado threat goes, I don't see that materializing at this point in time, and that's good news I think everybody can agree on. Take a look at the QPF, in other words, the maximum amount of rainfall. Now we're going to add to, this is the total added to the one we saw earlier, and now you can see where it's got 5 inches of rainfall. So remember the model I showed you on Sunday in the blog, and then we talked about it Monday, I think it was, when I did a live last. It had a kind of central Oklahoma in a bullseye, and it just kind of painted the whole area at widespread 4 or 5 inches of rain with a pocket maybe of 6 or 7 up around Stillwater. So the model had the right, this was the global model back then, so it had the right idea. It can't get that specific, so that's why we have to say maybe, we're watching for it. So that's, now we get into the mesoscale models, we can fine tune that and show you the more confined area, and then we can still pick out the hot spots of where flash flooding could occur. And the model still favors the I-44 corridor, so that does include Oklahoma City, even though it says 2.5 inches here. That's the fallacy. This little hot spot, for example, right here, could easily shift northeast about 20-30 miles, and then Oklahoma City's dealing with some flash flooding. So just keep that in mind as we head into our 2 rounds of rain, first tonight and then again into Saturday evening and overnight Saturday night. Okay, so the Storm Prediction Center. Oh, actually, let's go back to Norman. So this is their pocket. This is their drawing for severe storms for Saturday. Quarter-size hail up to 80-mile-per-hour winds. Tornado potential low. And as we mentioned, in my opinion, right now, looking at the data, the best shot of a tornado would be in this area here, and not so much here. So as far as that is concerned, let's see how they drew it. I don't think they added the tornado potential. They did not. They mentioned the flooding, but they have it up here. Now, there will be some heavy rain in Kansas. This is, I'm focused on the frontal band here in Oklahoma City area for enhanced convergence for some isolated flash flooding issues. But in Kansas north, where it's more of a bear clinic zone, where more flooding is easily in the forecast, with some ridiculously snows up across Colorado. I'm going to show you that map here in a second, and then we're going to wrap you up here. Okay, so here's a look at the Storm Prediction Center. That was their slight risk. The Norman office, redraws this map for us for a close-up view, but you can see how most of it's in the Texas Panhandle for today. It kind of just creeps in Oklahoma this evening. Let's see. I read this discussion already. Wasn't much on it. Then I already told you. And then here is Saturday. So here's Saturday. They've got the. Let me open this up for you so you can see this a little better. Whoa, that is not what I wanted to see. So let's do this. Okay, all right, let's make that a little bigger, right? You can digest it. This is the tornado risk for the Storm Prediction Center put out. So it's not bad. It's about where I drew it in this little sweet spot for Oklahoma. They do have a 5% ring that extends outward. That's a just in case. You get a storm here that lingers, like not new development, but just lingers with the old development, and it doesn't even make it Oklahoma City. It drops off before it gets here at any threat at all. It's a 2% ring there, which is a very, very low probability of seeing anything, but it's not completely zero. But when it's down to the 2% ring, you can tell it's pretty low. Okay, so that's the threat for Saturday afternoon, late Saturday afternoon, I should say. So 5 o'clock along the border, and then the evening hours from 5 to 8 out here in southwestern Oklahoma. For Saturday. So there's your tornado threat there. Now remember, download my free weather app. It's called AT's Weather to Go. It predicts tornadoes before an official warning comes out, so you're going to get more time to prepare, grab the kiddos, grab the pets, all that kind of stuff, so that you can be safe. All right, let's show you the rainfall amounts for Kansas. I know I got a lot of you guys in Kansas watching, going, what about us, AT? All right, well, let's just take a quick peek. This will be your rainfall total potential. This is just the one model I looked at. Let's see. So, not bad. 1, 2, 3 inches of rainfall. The northeast Kansas doesn't show much. I'm going to expand this view, and we're going to switch to a different model source, and we're going to see how this looks. Oh, they changed that. Nice. Okay, so in Kansas on the NAM, the boy, it's the difference between two different models, right? The NAM model. Sorry, I'm wiping my nose. I'm getting an allergy attack today. Like, good grief of all days. I've got a heavy band of focusing on some rainfall here, probably with the elevated front, it's the 850 front here in southern Kansas. So those are pockets up around, I believe, is that 6 inches? Yeah, 6 inches of rainfall. So again, that goes back to what I was talking about with that global model. It had the right idea, it just couldn't narrow down the exact details that far out, but not bad. Okay, let's take you from there into a bigger regional view. And I'll tell you what, let's do this one here, and we'll talk about the snow totals, because where is it going to snow? Okay, well, there's where all the rain is. By the way, a lot of rain stretching north. If you're traveling for a spring break or whatever, Nebraska's just loaded with rainfall, so they've got the same kind of deal. Everybody's going to see, 1 to 2 to 3 inches, and you're going to get some pockets of a little heavier than that, so it might be some localized flooding issues. All right, let's take a look at the snowfall. We'll see where that ends up. It's a pretty good storm out there in the Colorado region. Of course, they're going to have a lot of elevation-induced orographic lifting and whatnot. There's northern Nebraska getting some snow. But once you head out into Colorado itself, from the east to the west, it goes up pretty quickly. There's 8, 10, and of course up in the elevation of the mountains, 35 inches of snow. My goodness, ski resorts are going to love this stuff for late season, but that's a heck of a snowstorm for Colorado, and you will encompass snow here in southeast Colorado once you get about a county in. And northern New Mexico, just a little bit along the border there if you're driving. If you're heading out I-20, most of it's okay. Down here in the southern parts, looks like they have a little bit of snow in the higher peaks down here, but otherwise, if your track continues out here in northwestern New Mexico, you might run into a little bit of snow on the ground. It's a couple inches out here. Nothing big. But once you get to the mountainous terrain, that's where that stuff just comes on down. Okay, that was it for me. That's been your Lunchtime Live. I appreciate you guys watching, sharing. I can see Ryan is way late to the party because he's just now asking if there's going to be tornadoes. So, tell you what, man, you're going to have to watch the replay because I got to wrap up, get back to work. But I jump into the data pretty quick, and you can see what's shaking. We'll do this again tonight, so thanks again for watching my live broadcasts. Make sure you tell your friends and family about AT's Weather. Again, my weather app is free. It's on Apple, Google Play. It's called AT's Weather to Go. You can just search AT's Weather, and it should just pop up. And now, here's a key element to that real quick. If you haven't loaded before, and you do load it now, there's brand new permission policies on especially on Google. Apple has them too, and especially Google, but there's a new nag screen that says, and it's fine on most apps, it'll say, because I do it. Anytime I open up an app, I'm like, well, I don't want you to run on my phone all the time. So I'll say, only while in use, like, only while app is open. Or I'll say, or you could say never, which I don't know why you do that. It's pointless to load an app you never use and put a never on it. But anyway, so let's just say you use always while open. The problem with my app is you have to have it on all the time. It doesn't eat your resources. It hides it and runs in the background because it has to know what your location is. It doesn't know anything about you, but it knows where your particular device is located. And that's how it triggers to send you a tornado warning, all right, before the official warning comes out. Because the official warning will come out will include almost a whole county. The warning you're going to get is you alone. So that's why it's important to have that app running. So do always allow, and if it's not on that front panel when you go to click on it, there is another setting in your phone. It should prompt you. There's edit your phone settings, notification settings, or whatever on that same window. You can click on that. It'll take you to where the app is in your phone if you have a hard time finding where those are. When you hit the little edit menu in your phone itself on the device settings, and when you can look at all your apps, you can find mine that way. And actually, if you already have it, it's probably best to check, find my app in there. When you do, check the settings to make sure it's allowed to run in the background all the time. And that way you won't miss a warning, you won't miss a notification when those come out. Because it's springtime, you're going to start to see some of those. Otherwise, it's quiet. I mean, 90% of the year, it doesn't bother you. But on that 10% of the year, you're going to want to be bothered. So anyway. All right, listen, I got to get out of here. Appreciate your time today, and we'll see you again tonight. Take care.